back here in my kitchen, and today we're going to make Epicure beef tenderloin. I'm not going to pretend that this is my recipe. It's not. It's a recipe that my mother tore out of a magazine, I'm going to say 40 years ago. And so she learned how to make beef tenderloin, entire beef tenderloin in the oven with an herb crust. And I learned how to make it when I took over the cooking duties in my family. So I'd like to point out that I have 3 sisters, a mother, 2 daughters, and I'm the one that does the cooking in the family. Every time there's a party, every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, I'm the one who cooks. Now, you can say anything you want about gender stereotypes, but really, so many women, and I'm the one who cooks. But I'm not complaining. Yes, I am. So this dish is very much a party dish because it involves an entire beef tenderloin. Ray, come over here. Let's show them what the beef tenderloin looks like. There you are, folks. An entire tenderloin, this case purchased from Costco, and they sell different types and the price point goes up. This one is the one that they call extreme, I guess because it's bigger and more tender, I'm not sure. And the Costco butchers go through the work of peeling all of the connective tissue off and all of the stray fat off. So it costs more. This particular piece of beef that you're looking at right here cost about $140 in Costco this morning. So I'm going to tell you what you need for this particular dish. You need olive oil, salt, pepper. In this case I have whole pepper. And then the herbs. The herbs are rosemary, parsley, Italian parsley in this case, thyme, this is thyme, and oregano. They're all fresh. And we pull these little leaves off the thyme. It's the most annoying thing to have to do. But you don't want those big woody pieces in your herb crust. So this is ready to go, and of course we have garlic and a lot of it. This part is pretty simple if you have a food processor. If you don't have a food processor, you can put all of this in a mortar and pestle setup, or you can chop it up very fine and mix it up by hand in a bowl. But if you have a food processor, especially one that has a mini bowl, this is its moment to shine. So in the bowl goes the garlic. Bam. Sorry, Emerald. Couldn't help myself. Some peppercorns. A handful of peppercorns. About a 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil. As you can see, these are not precise measurements. They don't really have to be. We're only making 1 beef tenderloin. Christmas time, I haven't been known to make up to 3 beef tenderloins because Christmas at my house, or my mother's house, better said, never, Christmas Eve, Noche Buena, never involves less than 40 people. And if there's no tenderloin, there's mutiny. Salt. Maybe there'll be a little bit more salt. Lock it down, start it up. That's just to get the garlic chopped up and to make an emulsion with a little bit of the olive oil. Take a look in there. That's looking good already. And it's just easier to chop up the herbs if you're chopping them up with liquid. In this case, the olive oil and garlic emulsion. I don't know how much of that they're seeing, Ray, but there we go. All 4 herbs. So let's see what we got. So get a little closer here, Ray, if you could. So this is the stuff that's going to be spread on the outside of the tenderloin, as you can see. So it has all of the herbs chopped up. They don't have to be chopped up too fine. They're going to be roasted. But the one thing I do want to do is taste it for salt. It's got enough salt. Remember, this is going to be for the herb crust, so this gets rubbed on the outside of the tenderloin. It sticks to the outside. So the tenderloin has to be pretty well seasoned on the outside because you don't season it in any way on the inside, as you can do with a pork tenderloin, for example, by brining it in salty water and other brines with apple juice, etc. You don't do that with beef tenderloin. So any seasoning you're going to do to the tenderloin before you cook it, you got to do on the outside. I think we're ready to transfer the contents of this small bowl to a serving bowl over here on this side, right? And you can see all that beautiful green stuff come out of the bowl. Okay. Makeup. So now we're going to dress the tenderloin with the herb crust concoction, and the easiest way of doing that is to do it right here on the counter because I've got a lot of space. To keep it sanitary, I take a big box of cling wrap and put it directly on the counter, which you might be able to see. And it's good because this wrap is going to be exactly the thing that I use to wrap up the tenderloin in the time between it is dressed and the time it's ready to go into the oven. I'll explain more about that in a minute. All right, so now we come with that very large, pretty expensive cut of meat. As you can see, one end is skinny. A lot of times it's even skinnier than this, and so what you end up doing in order to have a fairly uniform piece of roast is you fold over the bottom tail like this to try to make it more uniform. As I said, I've had tenderloins that it actually tails off like 10 or 11 inches. This one is not like that, but this is fine. For the time being, this is how we start. Now, I did put salt and pepper in the dressing here, but I'm still going to put some salt and pepper on the meat. Maybe I'm superstitious, but this is a lot of meat, and you really do have to take the opportunity, every opportunity, to season it. So here we go. If you're the kind of person who can't bear to handle raw meat, who's squeamish about that, don't make this dish. It's going to make your life miserable. Or as Ray just suggested, you could wear gloves. It doesn't bother me. I definitely don't mind touching the food that I'm preparing. Doesn't bother me in the least. So look, we got all this beautiful green stuff. It looks like a pesto, or it looks like what's that green stuff they serve in Argentinian restaurants, right?
Chimichurri.
Chimichurri. It could be chimichurri, because chimichurri has rosemary and it has parsley. So definitely could be a chimichurri type of thing, but no, it's just what I call Epicurean beef tenderloin, herb crusted, depending on how you want to pronounce it, beef tenderloin. So you can see there's a lot of oil, and there's a lot of herbs kind of working its way into the crevices, and I got way more here than I need, but maybe I'll save that for some other application. The next step is to truss up the tenderloin to make it nice and tight and compact, and so that when you cook it, it doesn't just go spread out everywhere. This is a bit of a labor-intensive part, but an easy way to get started is to pre-cut the thighs. Now, if I were going to be really technical about it, and I remembered how to do the butcher's wrap with the hands, with the flipping your fingers in and out, and I used to be able to do that, but I found an easier way of doing it. And so now I'm doing it this easy way because I'm all about comfort these days. But one thing I do is I don't know, how long would you say that is? 18 inches? 20 inches? So what I'll do is I'll take this And I'm gonna flip this bad boy back and forth a few times to the correct length. And I'm just gonna cut all the ties at one time because I hate having to cut them all out. This is a pretty long roast, so I'm assuming I'm gonna need at least 10 or 12 ties. So then all you have to do is cut the ends off, all the looped ends. One end. And there you go, we got all the ties set to go. I'm going to show you how to do the first couple of these. It's very simple, it's just repetitive. So slide it underneath the place where you want to do your first tie, and you flip it over. Now the secret is, unless you've got someone who lives to put their little finger there, the secret is to wrap it several times as opposed to just once, like when you learn to tie your shoelaces. Wrap it over several times. Don't let go of it. And then when you snug it up, it won't untie itself. It won't loosen itself, or at least it won't that much. And there you go. That's the first one. So here on the other end, we're going to flip it over. As I said, this is not a very small end, and many tenderloins that you get at the butcher, they'll send it to you with a long, skinny end. This one's not that long, not that skinny. So it doesn't really matter that the roast is not all of a uniform width, because this part here, when you put it to cook, this will be when it comes out, this part here is going to be somewhat less cooked and more rare than this part. And that's okay, because at every dinner party, and this is enough obviously for a dinner party, you're going to have people who want their slice of roast meat to be somewhat well done. So those people, you really should kill them. But if you can't kill them and you have to be nice to them, then okay, you can serve them this end and it'll be somewhat more well done. All right, close enough. So this is the last one here. Now, if you're feeling precise, you can tie these. You can make these strings equal a serving portion of your beef tenderloin. So let's say this would be here. This perfect indentation would be one slice. I used to try to do that. Now I'm not so precise. This is good enough. So we're done with all the tying, as you can see, a beautiful package. And what we have to do now is we have to wrap this up in plastic and let it sit so that the roast comes to room temperature. It's already pretty close to room temperature because I've had it out of the refrigerator for a good couple of hours. The temperature inside a typical refrigerator is like 40, 45 degrees Fahrenheit. So this guy's been sitting out, it's not hot in here, it's like 73, 74 degrees here in this apartment. So the inside of this roast right now, let's pick the thickest part, is 60, what's that say? 64 degrees. So that's only about 6 degrees, 7 or 8 degrees warmer than the colder than the ambient temperature, but that's close enough. So this is where you see the ingenuity in using this plastic wrap as my counter protector, because I can also use it to wrap up this tenderloin to let it soak up even more of the olive oil, marinade, and all the rest of that stuff, herbs. until it's ready to go in the oven. So nicely wrapped, put it in a Pyrex, let it sit on the counter until you think it's closer to room temperature on the inside. It's going to go in at 500 degrees. It's going to stay there for about 10-15 minutes, and then we're going to drop the temperature. I'm going to explain more about that in a little while. This is 69 degrees. That's almost room temperature. It's 72 degrees here in this balmy Coral Gables apartment. So what we're going to do next is unwrap the plastic from this and get set to put it in the oven. I like to use a Bluetooth digital thermometer in the meat. It's made by a company called Meater, M-E-A-T-E-R. I got a pack of 4 of them. And then you track it with your cell phone. There's an application that links to these. There's little Bluetooth receivers, transmitters and receivers in here. And you can put more than one if you want. I've got 4 available to me. This station connects Wi-Fi to your house Wi-Fi, so that you can wander around the house without having to get close enough to the oven to capture the Bluetooth. So this stays by the oven and transmit the Bluetooth information from the thermostat via Wi-Fi to your household, and you can keep an eye on things when you're outside in the garden or in the balcony. You can see how your cook is going. That's the theory. Here's the problem. This worked perfectly for the couple of months that I first got it. And then they came out with a firmware update, the company did, Meater. And I have not been, and it's been 2 or 3 months since that update came out. I have yet been able to update the firmware, and it won't allow me to connect to the Wi-Fi until I update the firmware. Can't do it. I've written to Meater. They've responded with nonsensical advice. So for the time being, it only connects via Bluetooth to the phone. So I'm putting it right here in the thickest part of the meat. And it's kind of cool. You know, I really like the product. I wish I could get it. I wish I could get the base station to work again. So the thermometer, this part here measures the temperature inside the meat or whatever it is you're using to measure the temperature. And this part out here has an ambient temperature sensor. So this part out here tells you how hot it is in the oven, and the part that I just inserted in the tenderloin tells you the internal temperature of the meat. Knowing what the temperature is, the internal temperature is the key data point that you need to have in order to cook that piece of meat to its absolute perfection. In the meantime, I'm going to turn the oven on to 500 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the hottest this oven will go. And start. Now, it's going to tell you in about 10 minutes that it's at 500 degrees. It lies. It's just a lie. I don't think this oven is capable of getting to 500 degrees, but I know that however hot it's going to be, it's going to take at least 20 minutes to get to that hottest temperature inside. So that's at least as long as we're going to wait. I've had the broiler pan in the oven while the oven was heating up. Now it says it's 500 degrees. It's probably close to 500 degrees. The broiler pan has been getting hot because what you don't want to do is put your roast on a cold pan and put the whole thing in the oven. You want the pan already up to temperature. So we're going to retrieve it. Stand by for the blast of heat. Here we go. It's going to sizzle. Yes. Isn't that a great sound? Gloves on. I'm going to put it right in the center of the oven. Does my butt look big from this angle? So the tenderloin is in the oven. It's at 500 degrees. I'm going to leave it in there for 10 to 15 minutes at 500 degrees. And then I'm going to drop the temperature to 375. I'm not going to open up the oven door, because every time you open up the oven door, the temperature inside the oven drops. So your desire here is to keep the oven temperature as hot as possible. I'm going to cook this roast to 130 degrees internal temperature. I'm going to take it out of the oven when it reaches 130 degrees. My digital thermometer will tell me that when that happens. When I take it out, I'm going to leave it alone for at least 15 to 20 minutes loosely covered in aluminum foil. If you cut a hot piece of meat, a hot roast or a fowl, whatever, if you cut it as soon as you pull it out of the oven, all that's going to happen is every bit of the juice inside that roast is going to spill out onto your cutting board. So you want to leave it rest for at least 20 to 30 minutes. Some people will tell you you leave it rest for as long as the time that you had it cook. I don't know, that might be a little exaggerated, but I definitely plan on leaving this tenderloin alone for at least 20 minutes when I pull it out of the oven. Now I'm going to cook this tenderloin to a medium rare. Medium rare means it's going to be warm pink center. Some people won't like that. They will want it to be medium or medium well. Do not invite these people to your house to eat tenderloin. Direct them to the nearest Burger King. This is a very expensive cut of meat. If you're going to have it well done, you know, you might as well eat shoe leather. She's a cooking. Okay, 10 minutes is up. Actually more like 11, 12 minutes. I'm going to drop the temperature to 350 degrees. And we're going to keep cooking it. Still waiting. My digital thermometer has informed me that the internal temperature of this roast is now 128 degrees, so it's a good time to take it out. I'm going to turn off the oven. Don't forget to do that. And take out the roast. All right. That's a lovely looking piece of meat. Aluminum foil. "25 minutes resting." I move the roast to a Pyrex pan, as you see here, to capture the juice. There's a little juice left over there in the roasting pan too. We'll get that. Move this here. Move the roast to the cutting board. Rinse off my hands. It's really important whenever you're cutting, whenever you're using a knife, to never let your hands be oily or greasy or wet with water or slippery in any way, because that's how your hand slips on the knife and then that's how you cut yourself. And I speak from bitter experience. Okay, this is a moment of truth. I'm gonna put my glasses on. Let's start from this end. I can tell that it's already, seems to be a good, can you see that, Ray?
Oh, that is gorgeous.
Okay, that's pretty close to perfect. Look at the thickness of the cuts. I'm gonna say it's a thumb's thickness, okay? I'm gonna say that. I'd like to say that it's a thumb's thickness, so I will. So as you can see, as we get down here to the skinnier end, it's more cooked than over here. You see how red that is? And you see this is kind of pink. All right, so you save this for the people who don't care for their meat to be cooked to the proper temperature and insist on cooking it. Although this is actually quite nice. I wouldn't mind eating this, something that looks like that at all. From here, we're going to put it right back into the Pyrex. All right. cook's prerogative. That's really nice. There you have it. It's not all of it. There's still some over there in the serving tray. But this is enough to show you how it can look when it's plated up. I have some rosemary and some parsley around it. I'm not particularly talented when it comes to presenting the food that I cook. I have siblings who are much better at that sort of thing. For family events, the responsibilities for the meals are divided between myself in the kitchen and my faithful roommate and first cousin Ray, who's also my videographer. Thank you, Ray. And we take care of the kitchen, and my sister Maria typically takes care of what we call front of house. So this is where supposedly my responsibility ends, but you know, it never quite works out that way. So this is about as good as it gets, man. If you like roast tenderloin with a nice savory crust, without tooting my own horn, I will tell you that this is really about as good as this particular dish gets. I've tasted some; it came out really good. In the comments, I will, in the description to this video, I will leave you a chart, if to the extent that I can. A chart showing the relative cooking times and temperatures to achieve the different results from medium well, God forbid, all the way down to blue rare, which I don't particularly care for. I like it just like this. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you'll have the opportunity to prepare it. Ray was saying a little while ago as we waited for the roast to cool down, and he was saying it smells like Christmas in here, and he's right, because this is typically what we prepare for Christmas time. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have the opportunity to prepare it, and if you like it, I hope you leave me a comment telling me that you did, or asking me any questions. If you need me to elaborate, I'd be happy to. And I'm already thinking about the next video. Thank you.